in the world that we live in, if you ever had to defend your family, your kids, people you love, you're remotely confident in yourself against the average person. So 9 months ago in July, I started doing Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a 44-year-old guy, not a spring chicken anymore. And I've been training off and on for 20 plus years. And it's mainly been going to the gym, picking weights up, putting them down, and going for runs, trying to stay in shape. So I go to Strong Style, which is a martial arts school in Cleveland, Ohio, Independence. And it's the home of Stipe, the UFC heavyweight champion. And that's why everybody gravitates to that place, because it's got some history. And you walk in there and your initial thought when you walk in is like, dudes sparring and grappling, and it's intense. There's a lot going on, and it's all right there in your face when you first walk in. So I go in and I see another class going on out of the corner of my eye, and it was a gi jiu-jitsu class. It was a bunch of guys doing grappling and submissions in all-out 5-minute rounds, playing sort of like a King of the Hill type game with the class, and they're all wearing these pajamas. What looks like pajamas, and I didn't understand it at the minute, but I knew that it had to be some sort of martial art because of what they were wearing. And I was watching them, and I noticed that they weren't punching each other in the face, which was good, because at 44 years old, I don't want to start doing that right now on a regular basis. And I started to gain some interest in that just by watching, but it was super intimidating because I didn't know anything about it, and I wasn't ready to jump in just yet. After, I'd say I went to Strong Style for like 3 or 4 weeks, I started going to some of their like cardio and weight training classes that they had. But I kept having my eye on that jiu-jitsu class, and I kept watching it. And I finally signed up for personal lessons with a dude that I'm not going to name his name, so I don't know if he wants me to name him or not on here, but I signed up for personal classes, and he walked me through a few things, just some basic guard passes and pulling guard and things like that, some sweeps. And he was like, you know what? If you're going to do the personal with you, you got to stay and do the class at 11 just after. And I, at that moment, I was like, oh shit, I got to go do this class now. This thing I've been watching every day for the last 3-4 weeks and been too, not afraid, but intimidated to go start. So I stayed for the class, and I remember walking out after it first started because everybody started doing their warm-ups and I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of grabbed my shit real quick and I rolled out of there, and I was like, all right, I'm not doing this right now. And I went home and thought about it a little bit, but I did end up going back the next day. So the next day I finally went to the class, did all the drills, and time came to start rolling. And they were playing sort of like a King of the Hill type thing where the higher belts are in a position and you have to reclaim that from them. And if you do, then you take that position of owner of the hill, sort of the same game we play as kids when we were in the neighborhood. And I didn't get the hill at all. I literally was choked out within seconds every attempt, and I had no clue what I was doing. But there was an element of, all right, these dudes are this good at this, but they've also only been doing this for like 9 months, and I'm just starting. So could I potentially be to this level in 9 months if I stayed dedicated to it? So something kept me coming back. I remained interested in it, and I continued to go up until this point, other than a few breaks where I had a couple injuries. I was sick, and I had a staph infection that was misdiagnosed by the doctor, which why it took so long. But I've only missed probably 10 weeks in that 9 months max for everything, and I feel like I've gained a lot of experience and a lot of skill in that time frame. 9 months into it, I don't know what I was expecting when I first joined and got into it. I think what I was expecting was an education in something that is far beyond anything I've ever been comfortable with doing, which I've gained, and I'm starting to get it. Now, white belts don't get it for anything. They always say that in class. White belts don't understand yet. And I can't say that I understand anything yet to the degree that some of the instructors do in the higher belts. But compared to who I was day one, yeah, I absolutely understand more. Not it, but I understand more. there's a camaraderie there. You're starting to make friends with people that sort of have the same passion for what you have, and that's just growth through something that's hard and difficult to do. There's a lot of days where you don't feel like doing it. You don't want to get up and go, but you do go, and you end up feeling like $1 million when you come home. And I say $1 million, not $1 million because everything hurts. And like last night, I got hit in the head real hard, and I have this massive lump right here that hurts to put my hat on. But the fact that you went and you toughed through a lot of the shit, that feels like $1 million when you get home. What I look at with jiu-jitsu as a sport, art, whatever you want to call it, it's very intimidating because there's so much you don't know. You look at some of these black belts that have been training for 20 years, and you look at some of these guys that have stripes on their black belts and the distance between stripes that they have to go to achieve those. It's intimidating because there's so much you don't know, and there's so much you may never know, especially starting at 44. Like I'm probably not even gonna be alive long enough to get stripes on a black belt down the road. But that's the intimidating part, that you have so much to know, so much to learn. And when you go live with somebody, it feels like it all goes out the window. But at the same time, if you can go into the class with a goal of achieving something, like there's days where I'll go in and I'll say, today in rolling, I want to work on sensing movement to where I know where my tipping point is, using momentum for sweeps. And that is all I'll do that day. I want to try to sweep a blue belt, which makes you feel good when you actually do it. But it really pisses them off, and they go in the full blow attack on you, and you end up with the lights going out. But if you can go into the class each day with a strategy and something you want to work on and learn from and hone a skill, take one thing that works, it makes the class a lot better. You walk out of there feeling like you achieved something. So for me, jiu-jitsu is important because as a 44-year-old dad who's been through years of training and other things, I needed something new. But at the same time, I also think it's super important for a man and a woman to have some sort of skill in a martial art that, in the world that we live in, if you ever had to defend your family, your kids, the people you love, you're remotely confident in yourself against the average person, somebody that doesn't have any experience, which is most people on the street. Am I going to be able to hold my own against the people in my class? Probably not. But those people are trained in a martial art, and they have that discipline and responsibility that they know that that's not the kind of person they are. They're not going to use that on an innocent person. They're there for the same reasons I am. And I take comfort in knowing that everybody in that class is there for the similar reason. Mainly defense, self-defense. What you're defending is up to you. But for a guy with 2 daughters and a son, trying to set an example and trying to be the best version of myself to them, jiu-jitsu was a great path to take, and I'm glad I found it.